There is a grain with more protein than rice, more iron than spinach, and more calcium than milk. It grows faster than corn, survives droughts that destroy wheat, and thrives in soil so damaged that modern crops refuse to root. For thousands of years, it powered major civilizations. Armies marched on it. Cities rose around it. Entire empires depended on its harvest. Then conquerors arrived. They banned the grain, burned the fields, and made it illegal to plant. And in an age of droughts, soil loss, and food insecurity, losing it may be one of history's costliest mistakes. This is the crop they tried to erase. Before corn became king, before wheat spread across continents, there was another grain. It produced more protein per acre than most cereals. It delivered minerals that other crops could not match. It grew in conditions that would starve modern staples. This was not a minor regional food. This was a foundation crop. Entire civilizations measured wealth by its harvest. Warriors ate it before battle. Priests offered it to gods. Mothers fed it to children because nothing else provided the same strength. The grain matured in weeks, not months. It required no irrigation. It tolerated heat, drought, altitude, and neglect. By every measure that matters for survival, it outperformed the crops we depend on today. Yet it nearly vanished, not through natural disaster, not through disease. It was targeted, deliberately, systematically, erased with intention. A grain this powerful does not disappear by accident. Someone had to decide it was dangerous. Someone had to make it illegal, and someone had to convince the world to forget it ever existed. This is amaranth, a grain that fed the Americas for more than 8,000 years before Europeans ever arrived. The plant originated in Mesoamerica, cultivated by ancestors of the Aztec, Maya, and other civilizations long before recorded history. It spread across the continent, from the highlands of Mexico to the valleys of Peru. Farmers embraced it because it solved problems no other crop could. Amaranth matures in as little as 6 weeks. It produces thousands of tiny seeds per plant, each one packed with nutrition that rivals meat. It grows in poor soil, at high altitudes, and under brutal sun. It asks for almost nothing and delivers almost everything. The ancients understood what modern science would later confirm. Amaranth contains complete protein with all essential amino acids. It provides iron, calcium, magnesium, and phosphorus in concentrations that dwarf wheat and corn. Its leaves are edible, nutrient-dense, and ready to harvest before the grain even matures. This was not just food. This was survival technology refined over millennia, and for that reason it became a target. By the time the Aztec Empire reached its peak, amaranth had become one of its 4 foundational crops, alongside corn, beans, and chia. Tribute records show that the capital of Tenochtitlan received more than 20,000 tons of amaranth grain each year from conquered provinces. Warriors carried it as portable fuel. Mixed with honey or blood, it formed dense cakes that sustained soldiers through long campaigns. The grain provided sustained energy without the crash of simpler starches. It built endurance. It built strength. It built armies. But amaranth was more than military rations. It wove itself into spiritual life. During festivals honoring the god Huitzilopochtli, priests mixed amaranth with honey and shaped it into figures for ceremonial offerings. The grain connected daily survival with divine favor. The Maya cultivated it centuries earlier. The Inca grew it in terraced fields high in the Andes where corn struggled to mature. Across thousands of miles and dozens of cultures, amaranth sustained populations through drought, war, and scarcity. It was not optional. It was essential. And that power made it a threat to anyone seeking control. Amaranth delivers between 13% and 18% protein. Corn provides around 9%. Wheat offers roughly 11%. The difference is not marginal. It is survival. More importantly, amaranth protein is complete. It contains lysine, the amino acid that most grains lack. This makes it one of the few plant foods that can sustain human health without animal supplementation. The Aztecs knew this instinctively. Modern nutrition proved it scientifically. The mineral profile is equally remarkable. Amaranth provides 3 times more calcium than wheat. It contains more iron than spinach, more magnesium than most leafy greens, and significant levels of zinc and phosphorus. It also delivers powerful antioxidants that protect cells from damage and aging. The plant itself is nearly indestructible. It uses a photosynthesis pathway called C4, the same mechanism that makes corn efficient in heat. But amaranth tolerates drought better. It grows in degraded soil. It resists common pests without chemical intervention. A crop this nutritious, this resilient, this self-sufficient should have conquered the world. Instead, the world tried to conquer it. If you want more forgotten histories like this one, consider subscribing to keep these stories alive. When Spanish conquistadors arrived in Mexico in 1519, they encountered an empire built on unfamiliar foundations. The food was different, the gods were different, and the grain that held everything together was unlike anything in Europe. Amaranth alarmed the Spanish for reasons beyond nutrition. Its role in religious ceremonies made it a symbol of indigenous belief. The cakes shaped for Huitzilopochtli looked disturbingly like communion wafers. To colonial eyes, amaranth was not just food, it was heresy. But there was a deeper threat. Amaranth could not be controlled. It grew without European tools, without European seeds, without European permission. A population that could feed itself independently could not be subjugated completely. Dependency was the engine of colonial power. Amaranth resisted that engine. Spanish authorities understood something crucial. Control the food, and you control the people. A grain that unified communities, sustained warriors, and connected daily life to spiritual practice had to be eliminated. The suppression was not accidental. It was strategic, and the strategy they used was far more calculated than most people realize. Colonial authorities moved systematically. Growing amaranth was discouraged. In some regions, it was outright banned. Fields were burned. Farmers caught cultivating it faced severe punishment. The grain's ceremonial role gave the Spanish legal cover. By classifying amaranth rituals as pagan idolatry, they could justify its destruction as religious cleansing. But the real motive was economic and political. A self-sufficient population could not be taxed, controlled, or converted as easily as a dependent one. Corn survived because it could be incorporated into colonial agriculture. Wheat was imported and promoted as the civilized grain. Amaranth, with its deep cultural roots and independence from European systems, had no place in the new order. Within a few generations, large-scale cultivation collapsed. Knowledge of traditional varieties faded. The grain that had sustained millions became a marginal crop, grown in secret by communities clinging to old ways. Entire food systems shifted overnight. Families who had relied on amaranth for strength were forced onto weaker, unfamiliar crops. Malnutrition rose in regions that once thrived. As cultural knowledge disappeared, so did the understanding of how resilient agriculture had been before conquest rewrote the rules. But suppression is never total. Seeds survived in remote villages. Farmers hid varieties in mountain plots. The grain retreated, but did not disappear. It waited. In the 1970s, researchers began studying amaranth again. What they found confirmed what indigenous farmers had always known. The protein was exceptional. The minerals were dense. The resilience was unmatched. The National Academy of Sciences called amaranth one of the most promising food crops in the world. Agricultural institutes in Mexico, Peru, and the United States launched revival programs. Farmers began cultivating it commercially for the first time in centuries. Today, amaranth appears in health food stores across the globe. It is ground into flour, popped like popcorn, and pressed into energy bars. Nutritionists recommend it for athletes, children, and anyone seeking plant-based protein without compromise. Climate scientists see it as a solution for degraded lands. Its drought tolerance and low input requirements make it ideal for regions facing water scarcity and soil exhaustion. A crop once burned for being too powerful may now help feed a warming planet. They called it a problem because it could not be controlled. They banned it because it made people strong without permission. They erased it from history because its success threatened their systems. But amaranth survived. And now, it is rising again. Exactly as nature intended.